Welcome back to another reaction for Nippon Sangoku episode 3. Fictional work, yeah. Okay. Osaka, 20 o'clock, 16 degrees. Right, we ended on a pretty big note last episode.
大和歴57年春、亡き妻咲との約束を果たすため上阪した三角八テルは、同じく登竜門を目指す若者浅間義経と出会う。辺境将軍龍門光秀、彼が提示した試験の内容は、
私の膝を地面に着地させることができるもん。以上。
志願者たちが次々と挫折していく中、生還していた青照と義経であったが、
So he was like, okay, I'm just going to make you two half legs smaller. I'm assuming this is not going to work. Naturally. Now the question is, what is our boy going to do? And also the big question is that even the goal that you get him to his knees? Or is the goal just to see if they have the ability to think outside the box, get to different ideas instead of just brute force, and if brute force doesn't work, they just give up. Oh, it's a lion. The lion, tiger. Not lion. Tiger, bullhorns. Interesting. So they have different symbols. I guess the different nations and stuff. Okay. Enough scene. Let's go. Imperial Council.
私の足を切って地面に着地させよう思てたんやろ。そういうぶっ飛んだ発想嫌いやないで。あ、甘い。
すごいの言い間違えちゃいますの？
合格。
Now, I don't know if that was planned from the get-go, but a very good recovery.
待って足切ろうとするとか倫理観どうなってんねや。てかさっき思いっきり龍門辺境将軍を蹴ってたし。
He's on his knees. He succeeded.
あいつやばない。
All he needed.
なあ君、ごっつすごい蹴りやな。なわ。
まずは採用試験とはいえ、このような無礼を行ったこと深くお詫びいたします。そして謹んで感謝いたします。私は姓は浅間、名は義経と申します。
浅間って名門のあの浅間か。
滑稽、ああ滑稽。誰かが非難すれば自分も非難し、誰かが褒めれば手のひらを返して自分も褒める。ほんま軽蔑するわ。そのまま一生私の背中を追いかけ続けたらええ。どうや三角君、本気でこの世を変えるやと？この世を変えるのは私や。
君靴ひもほどけてんで。
おお、ほんまや。
なんやねんその余裕。なんでいいでできんねん。この七三寿命が。
I mean, you did a good job, did you not? What is he going to do? Is he just going to ask him to go on his knees?
献上の品を持ってまいりました。
何こいつ、めちゃくちゃ媚び売ってるやん。
媚び
Exactly. Now, he didn't say it's a present. He said an item. I feel like he brought, because did he not draw the city? Because that is what he did in the old place. He was drawing and making maps, and he also started making a map of the city. I'm assuming if he is giving him something, it would be a map to showcase him his abilities, what he can bring to the table. It's not brute force. It is not martial prowess. It is his pet he can bring.
など売る必要性があるんなら
Let's-
いくらでも売ったります。
It could also be cake. Who knows?
確かに言うてたけど、それ何の調味料もかけてへん、純度 100% の媚びやん。ダッサ。
これは
Agricultural policy reform. Interesting.
これは
戦で負けないために農政の改定を提案いたします。
Okay, not exactly what I was saying. Similar ideas though. It is showcasing his ability and what they would get from having him on their side.
のせいの改定お書く
ここに。これは
Everyone stops at the same page.
三角君、君は一体何を。
農政改定の目的は辺境での農業生産力の向上、そして常備兵の増強です。
Okay. So the first part would be a little bit strange. Increase the crop yields in the borderlands. On one hand, sure, more crops better. The more food you have, the more people you can feed. The more people you can feed, the more soldiers you could have. The more soldiers, you know, manpower important. However, on the borderlands, if you start building up the borderlands, they can easily be taken because they are on the border. I'm assuming he means the borderlands towards the two other nations. But then increasing the amount of soldiers stationed there, negating the risk of it being taken. Okay. I could see, because there's like a triple point where all the nations meet, you could station a bunch of soldiers there. They should be pretty flexible to move if they are needed somewhere else.
常備兵の増強です。皆様ご存知の通り、大和の総兵数36万のうち、辺境の常備兵は愛知。
Or is it because a lot of the soldiers are not conscripts but levied? So they are original like farmers or some other worker that just supplies some manpower to the army, but they have to go back at some point. However, if their farmland is at the borderland, first off, a bigger reason to defend if they own land there. Second, they don't need to travel too far to dissolve the army, and they can be levied again faster. Is that it?
滋賀の3軍合わせても総兵数の5分の1にも満たない兵数です。それはなぜか、辺境では常備兵を増強できるほどの農業生産力がないからです。常備兵が少ないとなると、戦の際に多くの兵が地方から出征しなくてはならない。これでは莫大な費用を要し、多大な労力が費やされてしまいます。そこで辺境の荒廃した農地を兵士に開墾させて生産力の向上を図ります。
Okay, not what I was saying. So they don't have a levied soldier, levied army. They have a real army, standing army, okay. But they are doing the opposite. They have a standing army that is at the borderlands, and if there's no conflict, a part of the army is going to cultivate the land. Okay. Okay.
辺境三軍には質がよく農耕に向いた土地があります。ですので大阪と周辺の電波と廃止し、用水を辺境に。
And the whole idea is to just have your army closer to the enemy. So should the enemy do something, you can react a lot faster. And you can also advance a lot faster. Should there be opening. Also, if you do that, the enemy is forced to have more soldiers at the border as well. But because they don't follow your plan, most likely, their soldiers have to then go back at some point, which, as he was stating, costs a lot of money. Or a lot of money, time, resources. So they are getting drained of resources over and over again. So if you do this a couple years and they don't switch their reform like you did, they will be hard pressed to be able to keep up with your resources. Okay. Okay.
輸送します。まずは5万の兵士を3軍に分けて配置し工作させます。5分の1を交代で休ませ、4万人が常に工作に当たり、同時に守備に就かせます。計算しますと、水が豊富にあれば現在の5倍の収穫が期待できます。災害や諸費用を差し引いても毎年150万トンの穀物を軍に提供することができ、3年が経つと450万トンを辺境に蓄積することができます。これは10万の軍勢の
Okay.
5年分の食料になります。これを元として戦に臨めばまず敗戦には至らないでしょう。
The main thing is that he just is showcasing his ability to more or less help the war effort, because you can always get people who have brawn, but brain is always missing. Thinking outside the box, as the other guy was, knowing or contributing in a way that is not obvious at first, because no one else thought of more or less changing where you grow your crops and use your soldiers to grow additional crops, because soldiers are a big drain always of food, money, and everything resource wise. So having them produce some of their own resources, less drain for the nation, it is a pretty solid idea. Granted, you do need to keep hold of the borderlands of the regions, but I mean, it's definitely worth considering. And it is showing them, hey, this guy, he seems to be worth keeping around.
見事や。ほんまに見事や。が、ほいでどないして私の膝を着地させんねや。
わしには龍門辺境将軍の膝を着地させることはできません。
But he can ask you to kneel. If you want more of his abilities on your side, it would be in the best interest of you and the nation to kneel.
なんで？
わしには常ちゃんさんのような戦闘技術はありません。どう考えてもこの試験に合格することはできんのです。
ほな、なんでこれを？
この農政改定案はわしが登竜門が叶った時にお渡しいたそうと思い持参しました。しかしそれが叶わないと思いましたので今お渡しした次第です。
私は君の名を知らん。このままでは君の功績は無になるがええのか？
もちろんです。
合格。で、 名は
三角青テルです。試験終了。
Now, he only had like 3 minutes. It took longer than 3 minutes, I feel like. I may be wrong. I may be wrong. Doesn't really matter, does it? But yeah, it just makes sense to keep him around. If this is all he only contributed, this is already a lot. But if there's even a little bit more you can squeeze out of him, you don't know what he could give you. He is definitely someone who is thinking outside the box in terms of war strategy. It's not always about fighting and how to defeat the enemy. Sometimes it's important to have someone who is thinking about all the stuff around the war.
今日はみんなよう来てくれた。己の良さを見せることができずに俗に言う登竜門がかなわへんかった者たちはまたここに来てほしい。出征時以外は私はいつでもここにおる。楽しみに待ってんで。
また挑戦します。
次は絶対受かってやるで。
一方は武、一方は知。まさかこの10分でこんな可能性のある2人に巡り会えるとは。
浅間義経、彼の度胸は天下一品です。まだまだ荒さが目立ちますが、おごらず精進すればいずれ大和を牽引する将になるやもしれません。そして三角青輝、彼には大きな野望が垣間見えますが、その割に名声を渇望してへん。面白い男です。
Which we know that he is going for revenge. We don't really have too much going on to go off on the commander here, but I reckon he's going to do some research around these two. And I feel like he's going to find out that maybe he's out for revenge, which I would reckon the commander's like, it doesn't really matter.
突然の合格にも龍門さんが自ら膝をつくことを狙ってたんかってくらい動じひんかったし。
ほんま彼らの将来が楽しみ。まさか狙ってた。私が膝を着地することを。いやいやいや。まさか。No.
Even with our knowledge, I can't tell you. I don't know if that was his intention. Maybe his intention was really just to put the reform up and then maybe come another day. I reckon he would just come another day. He would try over and over again until he gets this accepted. But maybe that was his plan. It could very well be. I feel like he would have the same thought process as me, where it's like, out of the view of the commander, there's no real downside of having him in the company here. If there's a little bit more he can bring to the table, that is a plus, but already this is more than enough.
大和暦57年春、この日青輝は登竜門を成し遂げた。この先に大きな時代のうねりが待ち受けていることをまだ誰も知らない。敵も味方も大義も裏切りも全てを飲み込みたどり着く世は太平か動乱か。
Oh, we have two armies crossing each other. Okay.
動乱か。三角青輝、後に奇才軍師と称される彼の伝説が今始まる。
Rieman's Flask, proposal for revision of agricultural policy.
大和歴59年冬、大阪都。青輝が登竜門を成し遂げてからもうすぐ
Okay. 57, 59, okay, okay.
3年になろうかという頃、
大和帝陛下のおなーりー。
So, were there big changes in the war, or?
入れ
もうええな、治れ。
Classic. Emperor is just a puppet.
内務卿は
お手洗いに
やけどもう町議始まって。
お手洗いに
お手洗いかい。ならええねん生理現象やしな。それは仕方あかんでもうた。仕方ない。怖っ。内務卿の部下相変わらず怖っ。
アクション。
町議やろうか。30分以内や。
陛下の目前であぐら。あいつ何考えてんねん。
内務卿、いつもは陳の隣に座ってたと思う。
Why do I feel like the Emperor may be having an accident soon?
ねんけど。
ん？
いや、好きなとこ座ったらええ。
上奏いたします。
龍門辺境将軍上奏を許可する。
偉大なる大和帝陛下、約3年前より実施しておりました屯田政策の
Right, it takes a while for the result to show because you need to start moving all the soldiers, start growing crops. This takes at least a year until everything goes smoothly. And then he did say in 3 years you should have enough for 5 additional years for 100,000 soldiers.
成果により辺境3軍合わせて約10万の常備兵の増強に成功しました。
10万？嘘やろ。
How did you not know?
あの政策が成功したやと。誰もが失敗する言うてたのに。
先の長篠の戦いにて降伏した元武王の兵士らもこの度ようやく辺境への移動が叶いました。必ずや戦場にて尽力してくれるかと。
ハゲごときが。
そうやな。すごいぞリボン。なんかよくわからんけど、とりあえず褒めとこ。
偉大なる大和帝。
So this guy is against our commander. Okay. Meaning our commander is not going to be against us in our revenge plan?
陛下、龍門が行った政策がどうすごいか分かってへんのちゃいまっか。
超能力。
龍門はですね、長年試作してきた民屯を潔く軍屯に改定しはったんです。約3年前の辺境の常備兵数は愛知3万3000、滋賀1万、福井1万5000、合わせて5万8000。これを龍門はわずか3年で10万に増やしたんです。つまり何倍ですか？1.7 倍。これはいずこかの収支に報じ、あまたの報酬を与えるべき功績です。なのにそれを知ったかぶりした上、調査だけして地位や報酬は与えへん。これは君主にあるまじき愚鈍な行為やと思いまへんか？
I mean, criticizing the emperor is crazy.
内務卿の言う通りや。血が悪かった。すまん龍門。報奨も与えるし、血は改めて消直を出す。受け取ってくれるか。
偉大なる大和帝陛下、喜んで賜ります。
そうか。よかった。
帝の目前に座った上に、ついに町議の場で帝を恥ずかしめるとは。内務卿平電機よ。その先に登るつもりちゃうやろな。
龍門さん大丈夫かな。
町議は戦とは違うで心配なかと。
I mean, it is a political war.
長峰さん、私が言うてるのはあのデブがそろそろなんか仕掛けてくるんちゃうかってことです。
平電機か。
帝の皇后はデブの実の娘。大和の主要な役職は地方の隅々まで全て平家が牛耳ってます。先帝毒殺事件から22年、時はすでに満ちていると言えるでしょう。
確かに。
あ、すごい。
Interesting, I guess he ate a sugar cube. I feel like sugar would be very expensive.
さあ、角砂糖今日3つ目ですよ。奥さんに怒られても知りませんからね。あのデブにとって龍門さんと辺境将軍隊は平家に組みしない役人の中でも一番目障りな存在です。
Okay, probably because of all the results this group is showing, especially with the latest agricultural reform. They are providing this nation with a lot of advantages in this war.
例の彼が提案したトンデン政策が目覚ましい成果を上げていることも当然快く思ってないはず。
I reckon the biggest problem would be that the people that are against him could rally behind the commander. And then you have a little bit of a problem. But if the commander falls away, then the people that are against him don't really have anyone else they could rally behind. So they would just fall in line.
龍門よ。上層は以上か。
もう一点。ここ数年でより一層慣例化が進みました。我が国と緊張状態にある征夷に潜入させた任官によりますと、北国征夷では多くの民が食糧難に陥り困窮を極めているとのことです。征夷政府の対応策も失敗を重ね、各地で反政府暴動が相次ぐ。
Ah, it would be the perfect time to go and take them over.
でいるとのこと。故に征夷軍の大和への制制は限りなく不可能に近いでしょう。
つまり我が国からすれば今が征夷を攻略するチャンスってことやな。
仰せの通り、この機に乗じて我が国が北伐を行うという手。
Or you could concentrate on the certain nation that is not weakened and fully concentrate on them, overrun them with your superior army, and then you can take, say, last because they are probably too weak to take advantage of the war.
もありますが、この極寒の中での遠征はいくら食料と兵が豊富とはいえ難航を極めると予想されます。
ほら、春先まで待って一気に攻めるっていうのは、それが現状維持。
一点懸念すべきことがあります。
それは
有能な独裁者の誕生です。
独裁者。
このような
Interesting that you looked at him.
状況下において有能な独裁者が誕生し変革をもたらす。これは歴史を広く見ても大いにあり得ます。独裁者が現状に不満を持つ民衆を煽り、大和へ侵攻してくる可能性はゼロではありません。今すぐにでも征夷とは休戦協定を締結し、 断続的な外交貿易を行うのが得策かと。
龍門よ、偉い弱気や。
戦は国家の重大事です。国民の生死、国家の存亡がかかっております。故に辺境将軍として慎重に。
君が臆病者なのはもう分かったから、まあそう心配すな。
So his idea is that there could be someone being born in this unrest of the nation that could bring everyone under one banner, and together they could then fight against Yamato. Because then not only soldiers are going to come, but also normal people would supplement the army. Because anything is better than starving to death. Okay. So he wants to play it safe. Reduce unrest in, say, build up trade stuff. Okay. Together they could then go after this third nation, potentially. It is very timid. But the alternative is to try and attack them in this code. Never really works out well.
正の件については問題ないから。
と言いますと。
正にはもうすでに無条件降伏の勧告状を送ってんねん。
Okay, so diplomacy is off the table.
内務卿、血は聞いてへんで。
今言いましたやん。
そうやな。
無条件での降伏勧告は誠意の怒りを買いかねません。直ちに使者を送り、まずは休戦にとどめるべきかと。
臆病者の龍門よ。我が国が未だかつて戦に敗れたことがない。たかが誠意相手に休戦など生ぬるいわ。奴らは白旗を上げる。必ずや。
I would assume that he has a plan how say he's going. That is really only assumption that he was smart enough to send a delegation that demands the unconditional surrender, but makes it or brings enough reasons so that they would agree. Because if this works and they do surrender, this would be under his doing, so he would get all the credit, which would make him rise even higher in the hierarchy. Otherwise, if it doesn't work out and there is a war breaking out with Sei, I feel like that would hurt his position a bit. But that is only under the assumption that he is smart enough to think this through, which I am assuming he did.
どうかご再考。
神道、臆病者の龍門よ。下がり、情けない。一生土下座しとけ。はい、次や次。
上奏いたします。
花田大司令、上奏を許可する。
平内務卿、降伏勧告状には印字が必要なはず。陛下に無断で印字を使用することは重罪に値します。
You are dead.
上奏します。中本大師匠、上奏を許可。平内務卿はこの数年間、陛下の代行とし全国へ強行に参られました。湾岸司書府には何百通の報告書が届いております。
We do have like a separation. One side seems to be supporting this the Fatso. The other side seems to not. And these are the opposition. So if they get taken out right now, the rest of the opposition is going to be quiet.
その内容は全て内務卿により不当な理由での処刑、刑罰、徴税。これは明らかな職権乱用。一刻も早く内務卿を厳罰に処すべきだ。そうや。こんな奴が全権握ってるとかおかしいやろ。とっとと辞任せ。いやしざいやろ。しざい。
資材資材5秒以内。偉大なる大和帝陛下、宮中に武装した将兵の入場を許し、血が流れたことを深くお詫びいたします。彼らの罪状は私を嫌な気持ちにさせたことです。直ちに代わりのものを推挙しますので、どうかお許しを。
許す。自分も疲れた。おしっこしたいし、戻るで。っていうか、もうすでにちょっと漏らしてモテるし。
これにて3回。
Why wouldn't I, as a commander, why would I not try to assassinate this dude then? The next meeting, I'm going to have my own soldiers, and they just get rid of him? You probably could do it right now.
一生土下座しとくつもりなん？土下座しとくつもりなん？まあええわ。征夷降伏後の防衛費を算定しといてや。3日以内や。まあそれと安心せい。私はその先には登らへん。今はな。
あのデブに対抗できるんは龍門さんだけ。私たちが全力で支えなければ。
望んどこじゃ。
この日、辺境将軍隊一般族員である青照たちのもとへ内示が降りた。
浅間義経、第31部古襲撃事件における賊と制圧の功績を評価し、辺境将軍隊武庫令補佐に報ずる。
はっ、昇進きた。
農政改定案立案。
Is it from the commander? Or is that because they lost a lot of
の
people?
功績を評価し、ここに辺境将軍隊幹事に報ずる。謹んで命を受けよ。三角青照。
はっ。
征夷羽前省銀山警備隊管轄区域。
輪島総帥、
The dictator.
浅見大統領のもとへ大和から無条件降伏の勧告状が届いたとの情報が入りました。
無条件降伏、ふざけやがって。
わかった。
Why do we have to fight her?
報告ありがとう。
Can't we fight on the same side? Can't we be buddies? Oh, come on. Look at her. I would follow her. Better than the Fatso. I totally forgot about. And so there's a lot of stuff going on. Surrender is not going to work naturally. Petsu got rid of some opposition that is going to be filled with at least people that are neutral. Maybe on his side, maybe not. We are part of the commander. We got some they just said it. Whatever. We are in a higher position now. So we seemingly, in the opening, you can see the yellow guys with the yellow jackets. We had the opening, right? Yes. You can see them fight here, okay? So it may be that we are only in this season go and fight Day, which is gonna be sad. I don't want to fight the lady. We will see.